Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video cartoon for July 7th, 2026. Here is the Supreme Court with Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts reading his decision, and the theme of this cartoon will be President Donald Trump's reaction to this decision that I'm about to read to you here. And here it goes. Here's the Supreme Court, John Roberts, reading the decision here. And here we go. Okay, the title, Richard Trump reacts to Supreme Court 5-4 ruling he cannot immediately fire federal, not the word is immediately. He could fire her with due cause after the proper channels of justice have gone through, and with due cause. At that point, he could fire, but he cannot immediately fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. The court determining the administration failed to provide Cook with proper legal due cause protections and procedures. In other words, if Lisa Cook they could prove that she was neglectful in her duties or acted incompetently in a certain way, that would be one thing. But here, there's no such proof of that, and no court has ruled that she's guilty of anything. So basically, her firing is being done at will of President Donald Trump, and this is what the Supreme Court struck down in their 5-4 decision here. Okay, and procedures, thus allowing her to keep her job while her lawsuit challenging Trump's effort to fire her moves forward. So President Trump is persistent here in trying to get her fired from that position. And as we go along here, Trump's efforts to fire her moves forward with that effort begun by loyal ally to President Trump, Bill Pulte, who Trump appointed as the acting director of national intelligence. So he's going to act in two roles now. He's going to continue with his old job at the housing agency, and now he's going to be director of national intelligence, which coordinates all the intelligence agencies, the FBI, CIA. So he's involved in coordinating that. He's above that those federal agencies that do investigative work for the United States, for the people of the United States. So he's in charge of that. And again, that was established after 9/11 because they found that agencies were doing different things and duplicative things were being done and they weren't coordinated. So this position as Director of National Intelligence was established after 9/11. And now we have here, Pulte is going to be, Bill Pulte, Trump ally and loyalist, he's going to be running that high-level job here, okay? Who Trump appointed as the acting director of DNI to lead the country's spy agencies. Example, the FBI under Kash Patel. So Kash Patel is under Bill Pulte, and you hear Kash Patel now, he's going out to Georgia, taking about 260 intelligence officers off their, whatever they were doing, going after terrorists or possibly some, who knows what. You know, with the situation we're in with Iran now, who knows what kind of terrorist organizations could be snooping around our country now, and those guys who are investigating that stuff, they're going to be taken off. They're going to Fulton County, Georgia. They're leaving on a midnight train to Georgia, like that song. They're leaving on a midnight train to Georgia, going to find those people who screwed up the 2020 election because. And failed President Trump and blocked him from becoming president in 2020. So they're leaving on a midnight train to Georgia, to about 260 agents here, intelligence officers to Georgia. And the hub of that was Fulton County. So many of them, I suppose, will be going to Fulton County to investigate. They'll be going to Atlanta, the capital of Georgia. And they'll be all spread around, 260 of those guys, those intelligence officers who could be checking out what's going on around the country here. They're going back to 2020. That 6 years ago when President Trump alleges that this fraud took place in Georgia, and they're leaving leaving on a midnight train to Georgia, just like that song that song goes. Midnight train to Georgia, gonna find what went wrong with that 2020 election. We're going there, we're going down there. That's the song, leaving a midnight train to Georgia. So I just threw that in for a little humor there, okay? Okay, and Trump has announced on social media that Pulte will remain as Director of Housing Finance Agency, the FHFA. So that's involved in financing the Fannie Mae mortgages and all that business, you know, and Freddie Mac. Those are government mortgage. They work with the government to get good mortgages and stuff like that. So he's going to be running over the mortgage finance agency that regulates all this stuff here, where he reportedly, in that role, targeted Trump's political foes for mortgage fraud. Example: New York Attorney General Letitia James, federal governor again Lisa Cook, and U.S. Senator Adam Schiff. So what these people all have in common is they can be viewed as being Trump's foes. They can be viewed that way, and President Trump chooses to view them that way, to put it diplomatically. Okay, and there it is here. Okay, so that's the decision here. So the court is passing it down to lower courts to rule on whether Lisa Cook is guilty or innocent, and they're stopping this move in a 5-4 decision. So that had this gone the other way, where they were allowed to fire Lisa Cook, that would have given President Trump complete control over who goes in and out of the Federal Reserve Board, who regulates interest rates. And that's a great lever on controlling not only our economy, but the world's economy. So President Trump will have a hand in controlling the world's economy, you know, like he did with tariffs. And his would be like, this could make the tariffs look like a puppet show, you know, compared to what President Trump can do, could have done with the power he had he taken over the Federal Reserve. Again, that's lowering interest. President Trump was very upset with a former pal, who he called Too Late Pal, because he wouldn't lower the interest rates in time with this and that, Too Late Pal. And then he accused him on those of renovation fraud with the building there, the Federal Reserve Bank building, that they went over cost, and he was investigating him for that. So President Trump has really has a track record here of trying to straighten out the Federal Reserve his own way. Okay, and that started with Jerome Powell, okay, who's now on. I think he's on the board. So after Lisa Cook goes, it'll be Jerome Powell chose to stay on the board, so it'd be Jerome Powell going down the tube too after that, and then who knows who would be replaced by him. So there you go. So there you go. Maybe we'll put Bill Pulte on the Federal Reserve Board. That'll be good, 3 jobs. Who knows? So there you go. So there you have that. All right. There it was. There it was. John Roberts here. I'll give a close up and there was only one vote that the Supreme Court, 4 justices were willing to hand over control of the Fed to President Trump. It was only one justice. Okay, I'm not going to mention the name because I'm not here to single out justices. I'm just giving you the facts here. That it only took one vote stopped this from happening. Okay, and there you go. Okay, and if you're worried about cost and inflation, could you imagine what would happen? Because you lower the interest rates. As soon as you lower the interest rates, that's inflationary because you get more money out there chasing fewer goods, and it raises it's inflationary. So then inflationary, that would have been another rocket in the missile of inflation. You put in another rocket in there, and make a Saturn rocket out of inflation with the Federal Reserve being controlled by President Trump. Okay, I said enough, probably too much, but I just thoughts coming into my mind that I'm trying to express here to make a point, and you decide how you want to view this. I always say that. I'm just giving you a little humor and a little of the facts, and you put it all together. And that was that. Okay, now, the second thing here is President Trump's own tweet here that he put out, and there it is. Now I always say tweet. It's post on Truth Social. Okay, he posted so much on Twitter years ago. It's like we fixated on a tweet, but his Truth Social post on his Truth Social media platform. Here it is, Truth Social. Okay, Donald J. Trump at Real Donald Trump. Okay, and he's saying here, the Cook lawsuit having to do with her suitability in sitting on the board of the Federal Reserve was sent back by the Supreme Court on a strictly procedural basis. We will take appropriate action immediately to make sure that someone who has committed wrongdoing will not be making vital decisions on concerning the welfare of the United States of America. So President Trump is concerned about the welfare of the United States of America in going after. He's going to continue to pursue legal action against Lisa Cook to get her to prove that good reason to remove her from the Federal Reserve Board there, from her position. Okay? Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump's June 29, 2026, 11:23 a.m. There it was here. So Cook is a Federal Reserve Board governor, and basically she votes on all the things. The chairman of the Fed does not control the Fed. It's done by voting. Even though they act officially as the head, it's done by voting. So if you can control the majority of the people on the Federal Reserve, then you control everything. So it's done. It's not done by the chairman of the Federal Reserve. It's done by voting. So there you have it. So if you got the votes, you got the Fed, and there it was here. Okay, that was number 2. That was second part of this here. All right. Here goes. The third here is with President Trump and Bill Pulte in the Oval Office. After this decision, President Trump is talking over things with Bill Pulte. Now, who's got 2 roles here? He's head of DI. He's the head of the Director of National Intelligence, DNI, and he maintains his the head of the mortgage finance agency. So there you go. So here's President Trump with Bill Pulte here. I always like to give you the detail. Here's the Oval Office. There's President Reagan up there. Okay. There's President Reagan and the horse, the cowboy trying to tame a wild horse there in President Trump's Oval Office. There's President Reagan there on the wall there. There, he's got his handkerchief and everything, looking a little concerned. I drew him. All right, and there is the wild cowboy trying to tame the wild horse statue in the Oval Office. And there we got it here. And here's President Trump. Okay, and here's Bill Pulte here, as I drew him, sitting there next to President Trump. They're talking about this situation now. Okay, and he goes, Bill, this is President Trump here. Thumbs up. He's confident that he's going to get the evidence. And Bill Pulte in 2 positions now. He's going to be the thrust of getting the evidence needed to get rid of Lisa Cook once and for all, and that paves the way for him to get a majority over the Federal Reserve Board governors who vote. Okay, so here we go. All right, Bill. President Trump, there he is, thumbs up, and he goes, Bill, if you can dig up some good dirt on Lisa Cook that wins the mortgage fraud case to fire her, then I will use my unlimited, President Trump always says he has unlimited power, I will use my unlimited power to have you confirmed as Director of National Intelligence. Right now he's only acting director, you see? So he's no more acting DNI shit. So he's no more acting this shit. You're going to be the director now. Now, whether he's going to do this or not, I'm not saying he's going to do this. I'm saying he would motivate Pulte. He could motivate Pulte into saying something like this to make sure he's really well motivated to do this. You see, because Pulte's still going to have his mortgage finance job at that bureau, in that mortgage bureau. He's still going to be there. So anyway, so he's motivating him to this. I really don't think President Trump would think that he could get Pulte's nomination through the Congress. I don't think he thinks that could happen. But he could say this to motivate Pulte to really push hard to get to get some evidence on Lisa Cook. And that's really what I'm saying here. That's the way I wrote it, to be understood. And just for fun, he always says just for fun, I will do a victory fly over the Fed building in the truly best plane ever built, my new Air Force One. So President Trump here saying he's going to, for victory, when he gets out Lisa Cook and Pulte comes up with this, he's going to do a flyover of the Federal Reserve building as a victory flyover. And there it was. Here, that's how there's Bill Pulte here. Also giving a thumbs up back to President Trump. And again, President Trump in the Oval Office. Now, here's the flyover of the Federal Reserve building with President Trump here. There he goes. Here comes President Trump flying over the building. United States of America. There it is. There's the American flag in the back, on the tail there. And here it is. There's a full picture here. Flying over the Federal Reserve Bank. There it goes. There he goes. In a victory flyover. All right, folks. Here we go. Another pass over the Federal Reserve Bank there. Here he goes. Taking a zoom in there, and there he goes. All right, folks. Thank you for watching my video. God bless you. Hang in there for these tough times, and I'll see you next time. Bye.